Now, guys, I promised GOAT conversation. I did not lie about that. We are going to talk about it, but we're taking a very different approach today. Just to kind of tee this part of the segment up, one thing I've noticed heavily, I think we've all noticed it, since Messi won the World Cup with Argentina, a lot of conversations and talks on the internet regarding who the proper GOAT is. In fact, on this show a couple episodes ago, we had very similar conversations. I think what's really interesting about how these conversations have scaled on Twitter and Reddit and the rest of the internet is that it's gone from, is it Messi or Ronaldo now, to when does the next GOAT conversation happen? Like every fan is ready to compare on the deepest of levels, and they're trying to identify who those next two GOATs are. I think every generation's had theirs. The Messi and Ronaldo era is coming to a close, and it's honestly really fucking sad. Some of the best football I've ever seen or probably ever will see. But then you think about the next generation, you know, the fans younger than us, behind us, are going to latch themselves onto and have these crazy arguments about. And I think the first two names that come to mind, right, are probably Mbappe and Haaland. I can't really think of another two names in world football right now that garner the attention that those guys get. I think it would have been amazing to see Norway in the World Cup and see Haaland try and like put goals past everybody. The way he's just knocking them in every week at the Prem level.
Haaland and Odegaard, by the way. I'll have you know.
Yeah. Honestly, bro, I really want to see that in a major tournament. Like, I just want to see how they connect. And I've seen friendlies and Nations League, but it's just not the same. I really want to see them in a major tournament. I think we will. It's just a matter of time. But I think what also, in my mind, stems from this future GOAT conversation is, I don't think, with how quickly modern football is changing, I don't think you can boil it down to just 1v1. I think if you look at the history of the sport, there have been, in my opinion, as a defender, naturally, plenty of GOATs, quote unquote, at every position. I mean, look at this past Ballon d'Or. The fact that Courtois was even in the top 10 running as a keeper. The fact that Oliver Kahn has been there before in the Ballon d'Or running. The fact that you have guys like Maldini or Sergio Ramos in the defender position, Cannavaro. So many players over the years have put their stamp on this game in a massive way, which is why I don't believe, and I think we at Box to Box here don't believe that it's fair to just make it Mbappe versus Haaland. I think it's a major, I don't want to say disrespect, but you're kind of just ignoring all of the other talent, all of the youth that is coming up and making a name for themselves across Europe. And this is what we're doing today. This is why we're here. A little fun game we're going to play. We've been doing these best 11s. We've been doing these drafts throughout the World Cup, breaking it down round by round. I think that there's no better fit for today's show than to do another draft, another best 11, but we're focused specifically on the next generational talents. We're calling this the Baby GOAT 11. I want to pick a player at every single position, a young player, someone who's on the rise, maybe playing for a top club or is just making waves in Europe the way that no other players their age are making, and slot them into an 11 of young generational talents that we think are really going to be in that GOAT conversation, not next year, not the year after that, but in 5 years, in 10 years. They're going to be there. Their accolades will be on display for the world to see. And we can say here at Box to Box that we called it first. So that's what we're doing today, guys. We're going to start from the back like we always do, work our way forward. I think in spirit of our latest drafts, our drafts as a whole, we've been doing a 4-3-3. I feel like it's fair to keep it that way, unless Alina, Andre, you guys feel different?
I like 4-3-3.
All right.
I like it, yeah.
Awesome. Let's do it. Guys, I don't know why I thought this shit was going to be easy. I thought that this was going to be like just a no-brainer, put together an 11 and we'll be good. It really wasn't. Like when you take a look at all of the talent Europe has to offer right now, and the fact that players are entering their prime way faster than they used to, there's so many people to pick from. We'll talk about it, but let's start with the keeper. I have a feeling Andre is going to like my pick, but we'll talk about it. We'll go through it one by one. Let's go ladies first. Unless Lena, you want to pass this to someone else because you don't have a good pick. Guys, we could do that. If I pick on you and you guys don't have a solid pick yet, pass to somebody else and we'll keep the conversation rolling. That's totally fine. So let's start with Lena.
One thing that we should mention is our age limit, right? We talked about it before the show. So because I mean, we were talking about it, off air, but basically when you look at every major tournament that's, FIFA approved or whatever, all the young players of the tournament or young player of the year, everything, when it comes to accolades is U23 and down. Same thing with like national teams, right? Like the last youth, if you want to call it that, national team before the senior team is U23. Olympics are U23. You can add 3 players that are above that age. But I think 23, 24 is, to me, what I would consider for the future GOAT conversation. Are we all in agreement?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. So guys, we don't want to pick guys that are like in the middle of their prime, 25, 26, 27. That doesn't make sense. It's kind of a layup, to be honest, like an easy pick. You obviously we want to make these predictions, long-term predictions. And so, in spirit of that, 23, 24, perfect. I would say that's the oldest that we go here. Okay. So at keeper, I have 3 different candidates that I could throw up any one of them, but let's start with Alina and we'll work our way around from there. Who's your pick at keeper?
I'm very passionate about this, by the way.
I love this.
I'm so passionate
I love this
about
already.
This. In fact, I will be very sad if you guys don't go with my pick.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, who is it?
For the best one.
I have a feeling, but go ahead.
Donnarumma.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew 100%. I knew she was going to say Donnarumma. Yeah. Actually, it's a really, really good pick. He's one of my top 3 that I mentioned before, 100%.
One thing to say about Donnarumma is he's one of those guys that's been in the conversation for so long that I thought he was like 27. My dude is 23.
Yeah. He started when he was 17, bro.
Yes,
yeah.
That's
He's been
insane.
Playing first team football since he was fucking 16, 17 years old. So
and for big clubs, like it's not like he's playing for like a shitty Serie A team or like whatever. Like he's been playing for big fucking clubs, and he's only 23. Like that to me is insane. Anyway,
so
what are your picks?
I think for the Donnarumma conversation though, let's have this really quick. I like it. For the Donnarumma conversation, what's more impressive, his AC Milan stint or his PSG stint? Because remember, at PSG, he had to compete with Keylor Navas. Yeah, I can say he's probably dethroned Navas, at least to an extent. Like he got hurt, but then he never really got his full-time position back. Yeah. So I don't know. What's more impressive? Like, what do we base this off of? Because at Milan, even though Milan was kind of in that rebuild mode and we're incorporating a lot of youth, he was a staple, and they tried so hard to bring him back. But in all honesty, he was going to cost them way too much money, I think. So I mean, I don't know. Like, what are we basing this off of for Donnarumma?
For me, I am
Alina take
not only basing it off this, but this is like the major reason I am basing it off, and it's his Euros 2020. 2022 when
Italy.
Well, he was like 2020. I think he was 22 years old. When they won, either 22 or 21. I'm not 22.
It was last summer. Well, not last summer. Now that was a year and a half ago now. Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't know. For me, that's insane, and we also have to keep in mind that they had 2 penalty shootouts against England and I believe against Spain, and he did great during both of those. In fact, I think he got player of the tournament too, not just goalkeeper of the tournament. He got player of the tournament in the last Euros. Yeah.
Damn.
I'm looking right now.
Fact check me on that. Yeah.
Dude,
so that's what I'm solely basing it on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's not even just what he did at the club level. I think it's the fact that he's been also the Italy starting keeper for so long now. Like after Buffon, who's a legend, you're like, oh shit, like who's gonna take over? Like there's options here and there, but like I think Gigi Donnarumma has been a perfect replacement for a legend like Buffon, and I think he's gonna be on the national team for the next fucking 10 years, dude. 10, 15 years if he stays healthy, dude. Like some of these keepers, I mean, Buffon himself, didn't he play until the 40s?
Yeah,
right? I think he's still playing.
Yeah, he played with both Chiesas. He played with both Chiesas. His dad and the son. Like that blows my mind. I'm like, holy shit, that is Maldini level shit. Like, that's
for sure.
It's crazy.
So anyway, I think he's gonna be like the keeper for Italy for the next fucking. Hopefully they make the World Cup in 2026, but like for the next 3 World Cups at least. So
yeah.
Anyway,
a staple, and I can't remember how many clean sheets he had at the Euros, but it was almost like record setting. Like he was a giant part of that streak Italy had of unbeaten matches. Like it's just it goes without saying. Donnarumma's a great pick. The only guy I would have thrown in outside of him, and it's honestly now that we're talking about Donnarumma and his stint with Italy, we're probably going to go with him now that I think about it. But I'll be honest, man, he's young, he's in the Prem. I like Meslier. I like Meslier a lot. I think, look, bro, he won't start for France for a little while because of how long keepers can last. Like, I don't know how long Loris is going to go. He's the captain of France. I don't know how long he's actually going to be there. And I think that's what holds up, players like him. But he's developing at a rate where big clubs are really taking note. Like I can see Liverpool bringing on Meslier after Alisson's done. I could see even big clubs in Spain, like a Barcelona, taking a risk on him after Ter Stegen's done. I don't know. I can see it. And for me, even though he's young and at times for Leeds, it looks like he's at fault. Dude, the defense is I'm not going to say a bunch of known names, right? But they're a very blue-collar team, and he does a lot for his backline that goes unnoticed. Yeah. So that, for me, is a conversation I was willing to have. I'm sure Andre agrees to an extent because he's a Leeds fan. But now that we've talked about Donnarumma, it's like it's very hard not to consider him just a generational fucking talent at goalkeeper. Like,
I agree.
The guy's the clear front runner.
But yeah, I'm with you on the.
So are we all in agreement?
Yeah, I think for me it's easy. Yeah.
What were you gonna say about Meslier?
No, the last thing I was gonna say about him is, I've been following him for quite a while, like even before the Jesse Marsh, Marcelo Bielsa days, and everybody was like talking so much about him, and I was a little bit worried about that jump to the Prem. But dude, to your point, like it's not like he's got like Virgil in front of him. Like he's got, like the back four is our weakest like line by far, and he's still saving our asses left and right. Like at that age too, he's only 2021. So to your point, I think if he was a different nationality and he wasn't stuck behind Lloris or Areola, like he would probably be playing for his national team already. But I think that's the difference between somebody like Donnarumma and somebody like Meslier. Like, yes, they both have great talent, but like Donnarumma's already have a freaking pedigree, and he already has CV with the national team. So I think that's the difference maker for me.
100%. I agree wholeheartedly. So keeper, let's leave it at that. I think Alina nailed it on the first pick. Donnarumma is it's hard to argue against that, man.
Nicely done.
And we see him being Buffon 2.0, 100%.
They have the same first name too.
Yeah, it's going to be a Gianluigi thing. I don't know what it is, bro.
Written in the stars.
I feel like that is the most Italian name you could have, by the way.
100%.
Gianluigi Donnarumma, that is by far the most Italian name you could have.
Tell me you're Italian 100%. Without telling me you're Italian.
Yeah, for real, dude. Seriously. Okay, left back. Andre, let's go with you this time around if you have a pick there. I actually have a couple that are really, really interesting, and just to tease it a little bit, none of these guys are in the Prem or La Liga. They play in other leagues. So, Andre, who you got as your left back?
Alphonso Davies. Canada's finest, dude. He had a shit World Cup, and I get it. Like, it's a lot of pressure. It's the first time.
It's not a shit
back.
World Cup, though, bro. It's not. It's not a shit World Cup. No,
but in terms of
just that. Like,
in terms of collectively, Canada did. And I'm not saying like him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I should clarify. Canada as a whole, I had them, advancing out of the group. They obviously lost me that bet when they should have beat fucking Belgium. But, he misses the penalty kick, and I'm like, come on. So that being said, though, he's proven it time and time again. I watched a lot of the Canada games and qualifiers, obviously, but also just watching him at Bayern a couple of seasons ago before his injury. Dude, my guy was a horse. He still is. Just up and down the field, a lot of strength, power, long distance shots, left footed. Like, to me, if I were to build a team or even a backline around somebody, he's the prototypical guy that I'd be like, dude, go and win me a game. Like he can play outside mid. He plays outside mid actually for Canada. Yeah. Like that's how he's really talented or skilled, in terms of his ability on the ball as well. Right. Cause a lot of times outside backs are really good at like crossing the ball in or whipping it in one time or taking long shots, but maybe like not necessarily the dribbling aspect of it, but his footwork is incredible. So to me, that's the choice that I would go for.
Is he replacing for Mendy at Real Madrid today, like easily?
Yes, I would say 100%. I think what we've seen from Mendy is kind of what you're going to get. I think Mendy had a lot of potential, but I also think that he's kind of hitting that ceiling already. I don't think that there's going to be anything more that we haven't seen. Like, I mean, even if you compare him to other French outside backs, especially on the left side, right? You've got the Hernandez brothers. There's got to be a couple other options there, and then you start.
Mendes is another one, yeah,
right, yeah. So it's like
he's Portuguese, but anyway.
No, but we've already seen what Mendy can do, and I think if Alphonso Davies came to Real Madrid, I'd be like, yeah, dude, you're the next Marcelo for the next 10 years. Fuck it, let's go. Like,
bro, I'll be honest, like, no disrespect to Marcelo, no disrespect at all.
No, I know.
I'm sure Marcelo could do things with the ball that Davies can't.
Yeah, he's Brazilian.
Davies' athleticism is like. It's like, I don't know if you remember, you probably remember this, when Alaba was still playing left back.
Yes.
Davies is like 2.0 of him.
I think
like,
he's better.
Alaba, yeah. People don't remember though, like because he's a center back now. But like Alaba, bro, when there was a Champions League run in 2012 when they made the final against Chelsea.
Yep.
They beat Real Madrid to get to the semis, and Jupp Heynckes was experimenting with his back line because he didn't know how to line it up against Real. And he was kind of like a really weird fringe player. He could play both, but they played him on the left. I remember seeing Alaba just streaking down the field on the left-hand side. I see Davies being better at that position, but because he's simply just naturally that guy. Alaba's naturally a defender. Like that's just just who he is.
I mean, he even Alaba plays center mid for Austria. I don't know if you guys know that. So like
he's very technically gifted on the ball, but he's not like a forward, right? Where he can sprint down the line time and time again. Mm-hmm.
Right. So anyway, that was my pick. I don't know if you guys had it.
I like Davies. I had Nuno Mendes and Davies, but I do like Davies. I say Nuno Mendes doesn't have the pedigree that Alphonso Davies has, or the CV he has, I should say. Yep. I think athletically, though, if he can move on from PSG to a different club, dude. I like him a lot. He's 2 years younger than Davies, so there's something to be said. I wish he would have stuck around the World Cup a little bit longer too, because he got hurt like the second game for Portugal
early on.
But. Yeah. So anyway, I think right now I think Davies is a better pick, but I want to hear Lee now first.
Yeah, I agree with that pick too.
Hell yeah.
I mean, there's not that. I think fullback is hard. I had trouble picking a right back, so I don't. Fullbacks are hard. Difficult. Good fullbacks. I think good fullbacks, especially like what modern fullbacks are required to do. I think it's very different than what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So I think they're a lot more rare than any other position on the field,
especially as a left back. I think because a lot of times right-footed players can, like, it happened to me, dude. When I was in college, I was always like a number 10 role, and then our outside mid gets hurt, so then I go there, and then our outside back gets hurt, and then I ended up playing right back for my last year in college. And it's like, dude, I was wearing number 10 as a right back. Like I've never heard of it. So to your point, it's like, but as a right-footed player, you can like get slotted in these positions, whereas as a left-footed player, you really have to have either athleticism or really good footwork. And in this case, I think Davies has both. So
awesome.
It's a no-brainer for me. Should we go right back then? Should we just go left back, right back, and then we can choose the
centers? Yeah, that's fine with me. So we have so far Donnarumma at keeper.
Yep.
Davies at left back. Let's move over to the right. So the other modern fullback, I'll kind of start this conversation and we'll go around table here. And like Alina said, this one, believe it or not, was difficult. Like finding young players that meet the mold. I will say for me, and this is probably the most obvious pick in the world, because it is. He's injured at the moment, but I do think that he is, in my opinion, as much as it pains me to say it, the best outside back to me right now is Reece James. And he's one for the future as well. He's 23 years old. I can see if he can avoid injury long term. I think what separates him from guys like Trent Alexander-Arnold is purely defending. I think that they're both great attackers. Obviously, Trent has better assisting power, I guess you could say. His long ball is almost unmatched. But I think Reece can get forward just as well, if not better. He can get more shots on frame on the goal, be part of the attack genuinely. And then his transition game back to defense, you can see it with Chelsea today. They miss it. I mean, they played against Nottingham Forest yesterday, and I don't think the goal stemmed from Azpilicueta's side, but you could tell they missed him. They missed having that extra, I don't know if I want to call it like a cheat code, but like literally a player that they could throw into the attack that no one sees coming that is also able to defend just as well as the attacks. I like Reece James. But
he gives me a lot of Kyle Walker vibes early on in his career. Like, remember when Kyle Walker? I mean, he's still a workhorse, but like early on, Kyle Walker had
at Spurs,
yeah. He was just up and down the field. You could play in the middle if you wanted him to. Like, he was very versatile. So yeah, I like Reece James. I do have another pick though.
Throw it out there. I had another one too. I
don't think you're gonna like it.
Throw out there, but go ahead. I
don't think you're gonna like it. We've already talked about it, but Hakimi. Morocco's fine.
I thought he was older than 24.
No,
Hakimi's young. He's still
pretty young, like 22.
23.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, still young. But he's another player like Donnarumma, where he, when he was playing for Real Madrid, he won a couple Champions Leagues, and then he goes over to PSG, and you think that
I don't
he's
mind
older.
that pick. I don't mind that pick.
Anyway, I just think
I don't mind that pick, bro.
What he offers, both on the national level and club level, for a club like PSG, I get it. Farmers League, we can talk all the shit, but he did it for Real Madrid first. Another player like Odegaard that we let go for nothing, he went on a free to PSG.
I think he was at Inter before.
Yeah, he was at
on
Inter.
On loan, right?
Yeah. He was.
Yeah, and then he went back to Madrid.
And then he went back
to Madrid temporarily.
Yes, and then
I think his Inter stint was good.
It was.
Yeah, I think his Inter stint was really good.
Yeah,
he was just young, but
and that's the thing. It's like you don't think about him, like, to Alina's point. Like, you think, you probably assume that he'd been playing for a number of years, and he's only been around for a little bit. But because he played for those 3 big clubs, his CV is a lot deeper than Reece James, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But could go either way.
That's true. I would also throw another right back, just thinking about it. Like you mentioned, Hakimi, like someone who doesn't play technically like in the Prem, right, or a top league, but he's still a very gifted fullback. I also like. Are you guys familiar with Pedro Porro? He plays for Sporting in Portugal.
I've heard of him, but I haven't really.
Did he go to the World Cup?
Enough.
No, because he is because he plays for Sporting, and that's Luis Enrique said, I guess no, but he's Spanish.
Okay.
So Pedro Porro, I was kind of familiar with his game heading into this season. Where I think he stood out the most for me was against Spurs in the Champions League. I think that I saw enough there where I was like, okay, he should be moving to a big club after this season, 100%. Okay. But with that said, with him, it's like the exact opposite argument of like a guy like Hakimi, where Hakimi does have a little more of a CV, right? Like he comes from big clubs, he's played for big clubs, currently plays for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Whereas you have Pedro Porro, who's probably roughly the same age, maybe a year younger, but he has he plays for City, technically. He's just on loan at Sporting.
Okay.
So City could call him back. I mean, if whenever Kyle Walker gets hurt, I could see a scenario where they bring back Pedro Porro just to avoid spending more money.
Okay.
But that's what Pedro Porro would be, is potential. It's like, it's not someone that I guess talking through this, I don't know if we can just easily throw him in.
Yeah.
But he's definitely proven himself in Europe's biggest competition this season. And there are like those rumors that he might get called back up by City. So we'll see. I have no idea, but he's another one that's like, kind of maybe a right back that not too many are familiar with.
Good to know. Got to start tracking the guy.
Alina, and you disagree? Do you agree? I mean, we threw out Reece James, Hakimi. Is there anybody else you throw in the mix?
I think I mostly agree with Hakimi. I do think that what he's shown so far in his career and the teams he's played with, I think he does belong in at least top 2. I would say top 2, top 3. I do think I see him being in that conversation in the next 7 years or so. There is one pick that I'm going to throw out there, and this is more like wishful thinking. It's just a stupid pick, but I would really like to see it happen, and it's Dest. He's 22 years old. Just throw in some love.
Okay.
For our
you are repping the U.S.
Yeah,
you are repping USA.
Yeah, the Pulisic jersey.
Love it.
He had a decent World Cup. I mean,
he did.
How did he do it? Barcelona.
Here's the thing. Year. I don't want to criticize him for his ability, because that wasn't the issue with Barca. It was purely his decision making. That's all it really was. That's why Xavi didn't want to keep him and was okay with loaning him out. Was he didn't play the role. He didn't respect the pattern, right? Like Xavi and Pep have this pattern that they want the ball to kind of go through on the field and how it's played. And Serginho just plays the way he plays, and he wants to combine with the wingers. He wants to hit a long ball directly to the striker. He wants to make these crazy overlapping runs. And it's granted, any other team, I'd like, that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, but Barcelona has their own brand of football, and like you could tell he was still trying to figure that out. And decisions he made would get him sometimes, depending on who we were playing, subbed off. Like he would come off at halftime or whatever the case may be. Koeman loved him. Koeman didn't have the same brand of football, so Koeman loved him, and he was the one that brought him to the club. So I don't think it's fair to Serginho to just like be like, hey man, you're shit from your time at Barca. Like, no, I think he'll be a great fit for Milan, and I would love to see him elevate to a point where he's in that conversation of one of the greatest young fullbacks in the world. I would love it.
He's mostly on the bench now for Milan. But the starting right back for Milan is Calabria.
And that's a good outside back.
I think he's the captain too, so it's kind of awkward to, start a person on loan over your captain. But when he gets subbed on for Milan, he does well. So I was just curious how he did at Barcelona too.
Yeah. He did. I would say under Koeman, he looked like his best. Under Xavi, he looked kind of lost. Under Koeman, you saw a little bit of what you see with Davies at Bayern. Koeman put him on the wing. His ability to cut in and shoot. He scored a few goals, I think, for Barca, doing just that, like being a winger that could come in and shoot. And so his attacking power is pretty damn good. But sometimes, again, defensively, he's just young, so it's just decision making. He needs to have those experiences, learn from his game, get better, and he will do it. So I'm not worried about him. But I will say, for the purposes of this 11, looking back at it, I would say it is between Reece James and Hakimi. Hakimi is a pretty solid pick. I think he almost kind of has to be up there. The World Cup run, if Morocco didn't do what they did, maybe we're not even having this conversation, right? Because, who knows? But for the sake of this, I'm okay with that if you guys want to put that up there. Reece James didn't go to the World Cup. We only know him at Chelsea. We don't know him anywhere else. Yep. And Hakimi has several different examples of his gameplay. So, Hakimi, does that work for you guys?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Hakimi at right back. Okay. Our two center backs. It gets really interesting here. Because there's a number of young players you could actually pick at this position. Let's start with Alina. And again, you could give us one, give us two, however you really want to go about it, but we'll nail down who our two are going to be. Give me at least one here, Alina. Give me both if you want.
Man, as much as it pains me to say this, because I do think he will improve to the point of being one of the better players. Do I want to see that happen? No. Do I think it'll happen? Yes. But I think De Ligt has to be one of the two.
Oh,
interesting.
Let's go. I have him too.
Yeah.
I have him on my list.
That's interesting. You know what's crazy? I don't have De Ligt, but let me hear your argument. So what's your backing for De Ligt?
Man, I think that year that he had with Ajax in the Champions League, that's just unrivaled. I haven't seen a center back that young carry that hard for a team that had a bunch of good players. They had Ziyech, if you guys remember any other players that they had.
There was Tadic, Frankie de Jong,
Neres, Van de Beek.
Tadic
that was
still
a really good team.
Yeah, they had a really good team.
Yeah,
I think with Juve, he did fine too. I mean, he was growing. He was playing, with a guy like Chiellini, so it was obviously a learning curve. I love Chiellini. I think he's one of the best, most underrated center backs in the last 10 years. And now at at Bayern, he hasn't really been doing very well. He hasn't done very good with his national team either. Yeah. So that's why I was a little hesitant, but I do see him in that conversation in the future because I don't know. I think he can do it. I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
He was supposed to be that guy. Like at Ajax, he was widely considered to be the next generational center back talent, like the next Virgil van Dijk. Like all Netherlands fans were so excited to have the next Virgil coming up through their national team system. And not that they're not still excited. It's just that, I think his time at Bayern and the Dutch, maybe it's the pressure. I don't really know. It's kind of exposed him a little bit. Like you see the little handballs here and there. You see the slips that just shouldn't happen to a center back. But he's also only 23 years old. And I think we can all agree that center back is one of those positions where they could play until they're almost 40. Like they really can. You don't have to be this extremely pacey center back. Yeah. Intelligence rules all. So I don't know. I think that De Ligt's really actually an interesting pick. I just didn't have him as mine. Andre, who do you have outside of De Ligt? Or do you have De Ligt on yours?
Yeah, I actually did. So De Ligt on the right and then Vardiel on the left. That was my pairing.
Nice.
He had a great World Cup. I don't know. He's talented.
He's just fucking gross. Vardiel's so nasty, bro.
He's gonna go to a big club. Like, if not it's in January, definitely in the summer. And I think it's gonna be City. Yeah, I agree with you. He's just another generational talent. I think Croatia got lucky as hell. Like Dejan Lovren, had his prime years a few years ago when he was at Liverpool. But dude, this guy is on steroids, bro. Like Vardiol is fucking
Seriously.
nasty. Didn't he win
He's
player
so good,
of the
bro.
game like three or four times for Croatia in the World Cup?
Yeah, dude, he's so good. He's a versatile player. And you know what's crazy? And this is why I like him so much. And Gvardiol is in my my picks. He's a hybrid, so he actually came up as a left back, but because of his build, they eventually moved him to center back, and he kind of floats back and forth for Leipzig. So I like Gvardiol a lot. I think his versatility, the fact that he's 21,
I know, bro.
That blows my mind. Yeah. And the fact that he looked like the most senior defensive leader on that Croatia team. I don't know. It's just I feel like he makes very, very few mistakes. And that is half the battle as a center back. It's just limiting risk for your team. So I like Gvardiol. My other pick was not De Ligt, though. It was Saliba.
Ooh.
He was my second pick, too.
Yeah.
Saliba.
I think Saliba is 21 years old. And as you can see, he is being compared to, like, Virgil van Dijk at his age, right? Where he was just kind of this. He's got the God's gift of the body. He is great with his feet. I think any Arsenal fan will tell you that he does make the occasional mistake that may lead to a penalty or something. I mean, it happened against West Ham, and then we gave up a goal against Brighton that didn't stem from his side, but I saw a mistake that led to the goal essentially. So there's the occasional, misstep here and there as a young center back, but I think, dude, he's so physical, so naturally gifted with his feet as a center back. I'm so glad Arteta let him go on loan to really get his, to own his abilities a little bit and then come back into the side and move Ben White to the right. But that's how good he is. We paid $50 million for Ben White to be center back, and Saliba has just dethroned him, and we've moved Ben to the right. Yeah. So for me, I like Saliba and Gvardiol as my two picks. But I will let you guys hatch this out because you both picked De Ligt. For each of you, Andre and Alina, would you rather have, you only get to pick one center back, De Ligt or Saliba in your side?
Ooh, ladies first. I'll defer.
I think it's just really hard for me because like my heart is saying something and my mind is saying something else because of how much I don't like De Ligt. But he's been like the most sought after young defender, and
he's the most expensive.
He's the most expensive
defender under 23.
He cost Juve 80, 90 million to get from Ajax, and then going to Bayern, I think it was like 65 to 70. So he has a very, very hefty price tag. No, he doesn't always perform well, but the price tag is there. So all these teams that are paying all this money for him, there has to be.
They got to see something.
Said. Yeah.
Could De Ligt do what Saliba does in the Premier League?
I think they're just different, in my opinion.
They are different. They are a little bit different players. But I will say they have a lot of similarities though. They're both great with their feet. Similar builds. I think De Ligt's a little bit bigger. Yeah. They'll shy away from tackles.
But to me, De Ligt is like a pragmatic, prototypical like center back, whereas Saliba can be a little bit more versatile, in my opinion. Like if you needed to change the system, I feel like Saliba could work on the outside, or whereas you look at De Ligt and he can only work as one of the two if you play a back four, or if you play a back line with the three, he's almost like a sweeper, stopper kind of situation. Yeah. So he's more pragmatic than versatile, in my opinion. But I will go with Alina in saying that there's a reason why there's a price tag on him. There's a reason why he's been, at two pretty massive clubs already in his young career. And I think that for us to like really consider him elite or world class, I think he's got to make a move to, the Prem or to like a Barcelona or Real Madrid, in my opinion.
He was supposed to go to Barcelona.
I know, I remember
Ajax, and it just it
fell through.
Didn't happen because I don't think he wanted to follow Frankie. I think he wanted to have his own path he forged for himself, and so he chose Juve. He wanted to, and also it was kind of
the
weird,
Ronaldo
right?
effect too.
There was the Ronaldo effect, right? That's what it was. It was like, Frankie wanted to go play with Messi, and then wanted to go play with Ronaldo. It made sense.
Yep. So I don't know. I think if you compare him right now in terms of head to head, for me, De Ligt is a little bit like higher than.
Bro, let me throw one more name into the mix that could beat both of them that I don't think we've talked about yet, and I think it's kind of interesting that we haven't talked about him yet. He's playing right now, Ibrahima Konate from Liverpool.
Dude, Okay, I've actually talked to our good friend Denny, who's a huge Liverpool fan, and I had my eye on him like before he made the move. He always had like great Champions League seasons with Leipzig, but dude, I don't know, man. Like to me, again, if you were to compare De Ligt and Konate right now, I would still go De Ligt. Like maybe in the next 10 years, Konate overtakes him, but I don't know, dude. There's just, again, the price tag on De Ligt is what keeps me going back to him.
Really, for me, the separator is international play. I like what I see more from Konate with France than I like what I see from De Ligt with the Netherlands.
With Holland, okay.
Yeah, it's just like it's one of those things where like Konate and Upamecano, like they both dethroned Saliba. Saliba didn't play a minute, I don't think, in the World Cup. He might have played like the last 10 minutes or something, garbage time.
The other thing too is in terms of system, right? Like there's a reason why Konate and Upamecano work really well together. It's because they have those outside backs that go, push up. They can come back. Like they're a very versatile team. Whereas I think Holland are a little bit more pragmatic. I mean, if you look at Denzel Dumfries, like I always thought like I rated him really highly, and his World Cup was okay. The game against the US, he was pretty good. And against Argentina, he got eaten alive. But it's a different circumstance, a different situation. Like if you were to slot De Ligt into that France team, I think he would perform well. I think if you put Konate next to Virgil van Dijk, then you're going to make him look like the next Maldini. So it just really depends.
Well, that is their pairing. Just so for Liverpool, that is the pairing, right? Virgil and Konate, like that. Yeah. Mm. So he looks like that. Yeah, he looks like that guy.
That's what I mean.
So didn't Timber debunk De Ligt? Like by the end of it, wasn't he starting over De Ligt at center back? Yeah. This one's so fucking hard, man. I don't know which direction we really go here. What should be the tiebreaker? What should it be age? Should it be like experience over youth? International play? Like
in my opinion, there's two like factors at play where you start comparing players, and number one is CV. Like, what does your resume look like up until this point? And number two, what have you done for club and country? Because again, using a guy like Nuno, right? Like we were talking about him earlier. It didn't really play much for Portugal. Like he still has the talent, but there's other guys that are already doing it for club and country. I mean, Davies is like captaining the side for Canada. So to me, that's the tiebreaker is like, what do you do for club and country? And then also, what does your resume say? In my opinion.
Okay. So by that note, so we'll rule Saliba out then. Only because again, Saliba is still very young. He's figuring out where he's going to fit in. Yeah. Actually, he's a little more polished than Raw. It's just that there's so much talent on that France team.
He's still young.
Don't know where he fits in yet. And he just needs more reps under his belt. But I'll say very confidently that I think Saliba is going to be one of the best center backs in the world, hands down.
I can see it.
The same way I feel Ronald Araujo from Barcelona is going to be one of the best center backs in the world, hands down, provided that injury doesn't fucking hit him again somewhere along the way. And if he could do something for Uruguay, we haven't seen that either, right? Like Uruguay was a letdown in the World Cup. They were one of my dark horses. They failed miserably. But I think he's such a freak at that position that he's going to be something. We just don't know what yet. But let's say for the sake of this argument, it's Konate versus De Ligt. I personally, I'm going to pick. I mean, like this pick. I pick Konate because of, and they just lost 3-1 to Brentford, by the way. I just checked the score. I'm going to pick Konate because of the Premier League experience, and maybe it's the Premier League bias. I have no idea. I just think if De Ligt can't make it work at Bayern, and if Juve sold him, like why did Juve sell him? If he's that good of a center back, why did they get rid of him? Why did they bring in Bremer?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually throw out another name. I don't know if he. I think he's 20. I think he's 24 years old, but it directly ties to why Juve sold De Ligt. Bremer.
Yeah.
Last season, he won Defender of the Year over De Ligt with a team like Torino in the Serie A. So that says
he's probably Defender of the Year right now 24. Too in the Serie A. Yeah.
I think he's 24. But I don't know his age. That's why I didn't include him.
Look him up.
Let me see.
Yeah. But that's a major reason why Juve sold De Ligt is because De Ligt wasn't happy. They knew they could cash in, and they did cash in. It was 70 million. Inter were going so hard too to get Bremer, and that would have been a problem because Bremer is like a guy that can stay, for the next 5.
She's 25.
He's 25. Yeah.
25. Okay, so yeah, but he's the main reason why Juve
that makes sense though.
Sold De Ligt for the money and then to get a potentially better center back.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you guys decide. Sounds like you guys are probably going to have more of the decision to make here. I'm going to go on record and say my pick is Gvardiol and Konate. I like just now thinking it all through my head. It's like, I don't know. The guy has been consistent. He was with Liverpool last season when they weren't in shambles like they are this season. And I don't know. He did it for France in the World Cup, went to a final with them. I like Konate, but again, if you guys love De Ligt that much, I will make that concession because I'm going to ask you guys probably to make a concession later on in this fucking draft. So, so it's totally on you guys. Those are my 2 picks. How do you guys want to decide this?
I'm going to go recency bias. Like, I think you're right. I think the fact that Konate was a pretty solid piece for France, going all the way to the World Cup final, and how well he's been playing in the Prem. Next to a guy like Van Dijk, I think that edges him out now. Like today, if we were having this conversation a year ago, 6 months ago, I would have probably gone De Ligt. But after the World Cup and the impact that both players had for their like national teams, I think Konate had a much, much, much larger impact and contribution. I don't know what you think, Alina.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Now that I think about it, Van Dijk in the national team he plays with De Ligt. And then at Liverpool, he plays with Konate. So I agree. I'm going to go with Konate as well.
Okay, perfect.
Score De Ligt.
That's a good one, man.
Awesome. Actually, it is a good one. That was a great debate, actually, because it's really interesting, right? Like, he has had these amazing price tags, but then you got to ask yourself, it's like, why have they moved him on? And look, Bremer, I think he's just naturally more experienced. Like, totally. It's kind of crazy too. As good of a defender as he hasn't entered the Brazil side in a really big way. But Brazil's also Brazil. They've stacked at every fucking position. So, totally. I mean, who knows? But I expect him to also, like, we talked about him a little bit, Alina, just him being more relevant. He's only a couple years older than De Ligt. So we'll see what happens there. But that is our 2 center back picks, our pairing, Gvardiol and Konate. And I will say, if this was a team in real life, that would be a fucking stellar center back pairing. I would love that. Okay. So far, the back line is from left to right. Davies, Gvardiol, Konate, Hakimi. Holy shit. That is a goated lineup as far as young talent goes. And of course, that in front of the amazing Donnarumma. Yep. So moving into center midfield, we're not going to do what we normally do. Try to nail down a 6, an 8, and a 10. I don't think it makes sense. I think there's so much talent out there available to us that we should just pick 3 center mids that we like, and let that be that. No need to worry about specifics within those 3. So with that said, who do we leave? Who last started off the pick? Was it Alina?
Center backs? I think. Yeah, because she started with the league.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Andre, let's start with your first center mid pick. Just one. Okay. Give me your first center mid and who you think that's going to be. I think the first one's easy.
I mean, if we're going CDM, Tchouaméni, in my opinion.
Tchouaméni? That's your first pick?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tchouaméni, and that's another thing. Tchouaméni is a great pick. This is kind of the reason why I didn't want to do a pivot, or a holding mid and to a natural center mid, is because then I feel like you leave someone out in a really big way. Maybe you don't. I guess it depends on how you want your team to line up. But Tchouaméni, yes, I can confidently say right now, in terms of young talent at the 6th position, very difficult to find someone who's better than Tchouaméni. And the guy makes it happen for both Real Madrid and France.
Club and country, and then again, recency bias, went to a World Cup final. Granted, he didn't have the most, elite game in the final, but he's just one of those guys that's going to be consistent for you. And I think the biggest thing for me is the expectation that everybody put on him after Casemiro left, which almost felt like out of nowhere. Like, nobody expected Casemiro to leave and get lured by Man United, and then it happened, and then you're like,
that happened out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then you have to slot somebody in who has no experience, and then he literally performed perfectly well for Madrid. So, I think if you look around in the big 5 leagues, it's hard for me to make an argument for somebody else at that CDM role at that age. So
yeah, I agree 100%. Now, with that said, I don't have a CDM in mind in my 11. So let's go to Alina really quick. Who's your first pick at center mid? And we'll just kind of see how this pieces together.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't have a CDM either. My 3 picks are kind of more like, box to box, more offensive. players, but one of them is Pedri for me.
Yeah, that's same here actually. So
yeah, Pedri, I don't know. It's just looking at his resume so far and what he's done and how he's broken into the club level. And I'm sure you can talk about it more, Jose, as a Barcelona fan. But I think he's done great so far.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the Pedri pick, I mean, to me, is kind of a no-brainer because of not just club, but country as well. The fact that at 18, he didn't miss a single game for Spain or Barcelona. Like, he just played everything. And, he was doing it. He was scoring goals and assisting them. So, for me, a very rare talent. I think Pedri's a no-brainer for this 11, in my opinion, too, Alina.
I agree.
But I thought the midfielder Andre was going to say outside of Tchouaméni was Jude Bellingham.
Jude? That was going to be my next one. So my three were Tchouaméni, Jude, and Pedri. That was my three.
Okay. So that's actually a really, really solid three.
I love Jude.
Jude's so good, bro.
Oh,
I feel like Jude could play anything in that midfield.
Yeah.
I don't. He's not a natural six, but I feel like if you asked him to do it, he could do it.
He would fucking do it.
I just feel like he's
especially
just a natural midfielder.
Or if you played like a 4-2-3-1 and you needed somebody to be the double pivot, Jude could fucking do it. Like he's that versatile, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Camavinga could be that guy too, though. If we're being honest, I think not granted, he's not the. And Jude's also a physical freak, man, isn't he? Like,
I know. Yeah, he's
know.
Pretty, he's tall,
super long
fast.
legs. He's lengthy. He's tall, fast. Yeah, he's got all the intangibles.
Yeah.
So you said Tchouaméni, Pedri, and Bellingham. I like that a lot. I had all box to box. I had Bellingham, Pedri, and for me, the last midfielder was kind of a tie. I was going to let us debate about it, but it's a tie between Musiala and Gavi for me. Like those two, it's hard to tell who's going to be better.
Yeah, I agree. I considered both of them. I thought that, or I didn't think about it, but I actually had Gavi as a winger because the position that he played for Spain.
They both kind of do that.
Yeah, and so the position that he played for Spain, especially in the World Cup, to be honest, I watch a little bit here and there in La Liga. Obviously paid more attention to Real Madrid, but when I saw him play for Spain in the World Cup, Gavi was very interchangeable on the wings because obviously you had Morata as the center striker, and he was wearing number 9, which to me was kind of odd because he's more in the middle. But he could play both wings. I mean, he's pretty interchangeable in my opinion. So that's why I had him outside of that triangle in the middle. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Alina, so just give me your three, and we can kind of see where the overlap is.
I had Pedri, Bellingham, and Camavinga.
Ooh,
Camavinga's a great pick.
Yeah,
man.
It's a good pick.
It is. Yeah. I think he's man. I was so mad. I was so fucking mad when Real Madrid signed him. Like I was saying, and I was saying this not because I didn't think Barcelona were going to go after him. Like Barca has this like Spain bias for whatever reason. But me and my buddy who's a big Manchester United fan, we were talking about it. Like Man U was looking at Camavinga heavily, and I was like, dude, if you guys get Camavinga,
perfect fit.
This would be the pick that I think starts a really strong rebuild for Manchester United. And then Real Madrid just swooped in out of nowhere and just like landed him. And instead, they got Donny van de Beek. Nothing wrong with Donny. Don't get me wrong. Not a shit player, but I just don't think he's as versatile as Camavinga. We saw Camavinga in the World Cup playing left back. That's
I know
how versatile this player is. If you want to play holding mid, he could do that. If you want to play box to box, he could do that.
Yeah,
I would have loved a player like that at Barcelona or at Arsenal for that matter. Yeah. But with that said, I still think looking back at it, what sucks is that Ancelotti loves experience. Loves it. Loves leaning into experience. So Camavinga, his minutes are kind of tied up a little bit with Toni Kroos being on the field so much.
Yeah.
But I think nonetheless, he's still a really, really good pick. So I think we can all say confidently, Pedri and Bellingham. It's just a matter of whether or not we want to have a 6 in this lineup. That is it. If we want to have a 6 in this lineup, it will easily be Tchouaméni. If we don't want to have a 6 and just make it all box to box, then there's a little more debate here to be had between the likes of Gavi, Camavinga, Musiala. Which, by the way, I don't think I got you guys' opinion. How do you guys feel about Jamal Musiala at Bayern? I don't know. He had some interesting plays in the World Cup, too, with Germany, but Germany crashed out. Bayern, he looks pretty good. Like, he's a playmaker. I like him a lot. He's never left the Bundesliga, which, again, he's still very, very young. So,
can you do it in a cold night?
England, too.
Can you do it in a cold night in Stoke? I don't know. I don't know if he could.
I don't know. I think there's a reason he left England for Germany. Who knows? But I think at the end of the day, like Musiala is still a talent, and a lot of people thought for whatever reason. I didn't think this, but I'm also biased. A lot of people thought that he should have won the Golden Boy, the Copa Award for the Golden Boy over Gavi this past season. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of harsh. I think Gavi he just was thrust into a really big role, and he did it well. So I don't know. I mean, how do you guys want to do this? A 6 or a 3 box to box? Let's decide that piece first.
Okay. Well,
Alina, do you have a preference?
Yeah, Alina, what do you think?
I think there's a lot of good CMs, but really only 1 or 2 good CDMs. So I don't know. It's hard to fit all of them in one. What do you guys think?
We're gonna piss somebody off, so I don't
care. No. I think if we're talking about like actual talent and what we think is, or who we think is going to be GOAT level. Like to me, I keep going back to the future GOAT conversation for the next 10 years. Is Tchouaméni going to be GOAT level? I don't know. He's good enough. He does it for club and country. He's pretty solid, but I think we go with 3 box-to-box midfielders that could potentially play that 6 role, which we've said, Jude can definitely do that.
Jude can do that 100%.
So in my opinion, I would probably go Jude, Pedri, and Camavinga if that's the case.
Okay.
Those
I like that.
Alina, Jude.
Like
okay, so we said Jude, Pedri, and Camavinga.
Yeah.
Okay. So that at this point, and you already had Camavinga on your lineup, correct, Alina?
Yeah, I did. He was the more defensive one out of the two for me.
That makes sense. Okay. All right. I want to go on record and say I am not the one on this show choosing to omit Gavi. Gavi, I love you, bro. You keep doing your thing. Easily one of the most physical fucking box-to-box midfielders at his age. I love it. But with that said, 2v1. I got outvoted. So it is, and we'll those on the screen. This midfield 3 is fucking legit. Yeah, super stacked. So Camavinga, Jude Bellingham, and Pedri. Bro, but this is like some FIFA Ultimate Team shit. I'm sure Alina's seen this lineup somewhere. She's seen it somewhere, maybe. I don't know. Have you seen anything that close?
Dude, that Bellingham last year had a Team of the Season card for Dortmund. That was insane. It was like 3 million coins. I only
was it the 94 overall?
I don't remember the rating, but you could literally play him anywhere. You could friggin' play him in goalkeeper and he would do fine. He had stats in everything.
Every
shooting,
category.
Pace, defending, physical, dribble, everything.
That's how it feels watching him play sometimes. Like you watch him play for England, the guy's fucking everywhere. He's dropping in close to the center backs, he's pushing up with the strikers and Harry Kane. I'm like, dude, how do you have an engine like
I know.
this? Like and he's 19. Guys, he's 19.
That's insane to me. Like, that's insane.
He's gonna get so much better. Like, oh my god, I can't wait to see. I hope he lands at. I think it will be an English club. I really see it being maybe Liverpool. If it's United, whatever. It is what it is. But
you don't think
I kind of hope it's Liverpool.
You don't think this bad shit is ways enough? Come on.
Oh, Real Madrid. I mean, look, Real Madrid. I mean, the power you guys wield to lure players in is always there. I mean, I just think he's English and just going to want to play for an English club at some point.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So I think it'll happen. Plus, there's only really one midfielder spot left in that lineup, and I think Valverde's going to take it. In my opinion, I think Mbappe's going to come. Valverde comes into a true center mid role, and then you have Camavinga, Valverde, and Tchouaméni. I see that playing out just like that. Yeah. So I think if whoever Jude goes to, they're going to win the fucking lottery, at least temporarily, because the guy will add so much to their team. But that is our 3: Jude Bellingham, Pedri, and Camavinga. Now, moving into the front 3. 2 of these are fucking layups. We could just say that right now. I still want to have some kind of a debate because it should be that way. We shouldn't just say, hey, Haaland's the guy and Mbappe's the guy. Let's leave it at that. I mean, if you guys feel that over the course of time, and that's one thing that I really want to be clear with this 11. Andre and I had this conversation while we were in New York. I hear a lot of Mbappe's already in the GOAT conversation. I don't feel that way. I feel he is a generational talent. He will probably end up being one of the greatest players we've ever seen play. Probably. If he keeps going on this track, he probably will be. But I think to be in the GOAT conversation, like realistically in it now, he has to do what Messi and Ronaldo have been doing for 10, 15 years.
Yeah. I agree.
Period. Like, it's longevity. Like, I need to see a decade plus before I say, all right, he's in the GOAT conversation.
For both club and country.
Yeah. 100%. But even if it wasn't, like, I think that'll be the separator. I don't think Messi and Ronaldo have had these extremely trophy-laden international careers. They've won trophies internationally.
But they played for Real Madrid and Barcelona. Like, you can't expect to be GOAT when you're playing for fucking PSG. Like, it's just, that's, I'm sorry, but dude, like,
that's fair. No, it's fair.
He's got to
not arguing it.
He's got to go to the Prem, or he's got to go to one of the 2 La Liga clubs. Like, that's just.
I mean, he's got to go to Real Madrid. I mean, everybody knows where he's going next. And then, but not just that, he's got to do what Ronaldo was doing. How many goals did Ronaldo score for that club? And
yeah,
we're just gonna throw that aside and put Mbappe. Yeah. Exactly, and put Mbappe in the conversation when Haaland is outpacing him today,
right?
In a better league. Like, it's just like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's very naive and just short-term thinking. Like,
I completely agree. I think, if we go back to what you said in terms of future GOAT at that position as a left wing, yeah, dude, for sure. I think Mbappe has everything. He has every tool available and everything that you like would dream of as a player in that position with all the CV already, right? Like, he's won a World Cup. He made 2 World Cup finals already, and he's only 23, 24. He just turned 24. It's like, to me, he's got so much runway still, to do for both club and country. So yeah, I think future GOAT maybe, but just for people who are saying like, oh no, he's got to be the next one in throne. I'm like, can we relax here for a second? Like, come on.
Longevity, man. He's got to do this for years and years and years. Now, with that said, too, I don't want to just automatically say, let's slot him in at left wing and let's leave it at that. We should have some kind of a debate. The question I like to ask myself a lot regarding this conversation, is Mbappe already there, is what would he have? What does he offer to a team outside of his pace? Let's just have that conversation. What does he offer to his team outside of pace? There are those on the internet who believe Mbappe is a pace merchant.
No.
They're not terribly off. Like he has a lot of pace, but he does offer a lot of finishing ability. That's what I see the most. Outside of that, though, you can start to have real debates between him and the likes of like Bukayo Saka, for example. I like having that debate. I think, could Mbappe do what he does for PSG at Newcastle or at Arsenal? Or at Tottenham. If Conte somehow got access to a war chest of cash and he brings in Mbappe to complete the front 3, can he be the GOAT that he is at PSG? Can he be that guy?
I think so.
I will say at Real Madrid, he still has a pretty damn good setup. It's Vinny on one side, Mbappe on the other, either Benzema or some other world-class striker in front of him. Like, there's still a pretty damn good setup, but could he do what like Ronaldo was doing at Juve, kind of carrying an attack, so to speak, or what Messi was doing in his latter years at Barca, carrying an attack? That's really what they were doing. They were carrying their front lines. Can Mbappe do that at a club? Like, and I'm not saying Saka's doing this. I'm just saying he's another young talent that is coming up. Can he do that in a bigger league? Let's just answer that question.
Yes. 100%.
Why?
Dude, he's
what does he have? Well,
you mentioned mentioned pace. If we're gonna look at like categories, pace, he's physical, imposing. I watched him live 4 years ago when I went to the World Cup playing against Denmark. It was a 0-0 game. Both teams were already through to the next round, so he wasn't really like going out of his way to like do something crazy. But he's got long distance shots, finishing, penalty kicks don't scare him. The bright lights obviously are not bright enough, right? Like, he scored 4 goals in a fucking World Cup final. And on top of that,
he did miss in a penalty shootout a year ago, though.
Yeah, that's fair. He did. Well, everybody's done it, but I think the other thing that he offers is all the off the field shit that we don't know, which is like behind the scenes and stuff. I don't know if you guys saw the speech that he gave out to the team during halftime of the World Cup. We've talked about it.
Oh, we talked about it.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's like, he does more than just like take dudes on and have great finishing. I think he's one of those guys that you see on the other team, and I'm like, fuck, if I'm marking him, I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he's one of those dudes that you don't want to fucking face. Like, let's just be real.
Yeah.
So I think he can do it in the Prem. I think he can do it for Real Madrid. I think he's ready to fucking do it. I think he actually might be kind of almost like salivating at the idea that, like, you know what, I tried the PSG thing, but now I have to play with fucking Messi, which, he loves doing it. Like, they've talked about it openly, but the pressure of that World Cup, I think, is going to get to him. I think the noise is going to get to him. And so I think he's ready for the challenge. And dude, he's 23. Like I couldn't think of anybody else other than maybe Holland who is ready for a big challenge to take what you said, to carry the team on their backs and fucking, do what Ronaldo or Messi were doing at that age, for their clubs, in my opinion.
That's fair. No, I don't disagree with anything you say. I think playing devil's advocate on that, which is what I was trying to do, right? Like teeing that question up, is just trying to understand, get people to think outside of his pace, because eventually it happens to everybody. There's going to be another player that comes along and can offer that, right? There's going to be another player that has the physical intangibles that you start wondering to yourself, can he rival someone like an Mbappe? And that's why we need to ask ourselves, okay, well, what else about his game separates him? And all those things that Andre mentioned are spot on. I think from a coach's perspective, you can see all of that. Alina, is there anybody else out there that gets even close, right? We're not saying touches Mbappe, but just gets close, where maybe in 2, 3, 4 years, we're having a more competitive conversation around who owns this left winger spot?
Well, I had two in mind. The first one is Leao, but he really disappointed me in the World Cup. And there had to be a reason why he wasn't starting. He was coming off the bench. So I don't know what happened there. He had a great year with Milan last year. This year he's doing fine as well. They've done so much better in the Champions League. He starts every game. He's a very similar player to Mbappe.
Actually,
I think
he's a very similar player.
Yeah, they have the pace, they have good finishing, and he's also a technical player too. He can cross. He's really nice with the crosses. I would say obviously Mbappe is like clear still. But I think Leao is better at being more of an assisting winger, as opposed to I want the goals for myself, I want the spotlight. Yeah. That's why I think he's not as talked about as Mbappe, is because he prefers to like help his team get points, as opposed to, I want to be the best player, I want to be the center of the project, I want to be getting paid 100 million a season. He's not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then another guy, I'm gonna butcher his name, but he's one of my three that I picked for the front three. Let me see. Kvaratskhelia?
Oh, Napoli.
Kvaratskhelia? Yeah, I think he's 21, 22.
Kvara. Yeah. I just call him Kvara. I don't even say his whole name anymore.
KK.
I hate Napoli, but I honestly would not mind a jersey of his.
Dude, from Georgia.
So good.
He's Georgia. So good. That's insane, bro.
And I was going to say, like, I did think about him, but it's tough because he's never going to do it for his country. Like, unless he takes fucking Georgia.
Bro, yeah.
Unless you take Georgia to the Euros.
Though.
Yeah, but I also think Norway. I think Norway's better. Like, I mean,
maybe in the Euros. Maybe, okay, so if let's say they qualify for Euros, and let's say Georgia, makes some waves, right? They make it to the quarterfinals of the European Championships. We've seen Greece go to the final, by the way, right? So there's an opportunity for a country like that to make waves. It's a really interesting conversation that he's 21 years old. And I will say the guy is a baller. Just, when you watch him in the Champions League, man, I want him so bad for a team like Arsenal because he stretches defenses so well. Yeah. I don't know. I really want to see him. I really want to see him in the Premier League, to be honest. I really want to see a guy like that in the Prem. But yeah, I think, and Leao's probably the most comparable player to Mbappe, just hearing Alina talk through that piece. Where I think Mbappe is better is his acceleration. Nobody can compete with him. I think the minute he decides he's going to take a run, like you're probably fucked. Like you just have to find a way to body him off his path and get someone to help double, because there's no way you're going to be able to catch him. Leao to me is a better finisher, in my opinion. Watching Milan games this season, I've also watched PSG games this season. Mbappe, in my opinion, finishes better for France than he does for PSG. I've seen him miss some howlers for PSG, but then you have someone like Neymar or a Messi coming to clean it up. So, right now, like I mentioned before, Holland is outscoring Mbappe pretty significantly in the Premier League versus Mbappe in Ligue 1. But I really like those two picks. I will say, again, we're probably all in agreement here. I don't think there's anybody that rivals Mbappe at this moment in time. But the next 2 to 3 years, especially when Ronaldo and Messi kind of fully exit the conversation and we start talking solely about the youth that's running the show, I'm really excited to see what happens, man. I don't know if Mbappe and Haaland are going to just own the spotlight forever, but right now that tends to be the case. So
I
all in agreement,
agree.
left winger, Mbappe?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. And then, of course, I'll get to striker. We'll leave that here in a second because I want to have that conversation too. At right wing, I have someone that isn't actually, he's a winger, not a right winger specifically, but he's a winger. And I think he's going to be a very Cristiano Ronaldo-esque type of talent. I've talked to Andre about this guy before. I think he doesn't get talked about hardly ever because he's 20 years old and he's got such a long way to go. But he's already making waves. He scored this past game. I think Gabriel Martinelli is a fucking sight to behold, man. I think his passion, his work rate, the guy only knows one speed, and it's 100. I think in two years' time, not even that long, I think in 2 years' time, he will easily be one of the best wingers on the planet. If he continues to grow under Arteta.
I agree.
So that would be my pick, just picking a winger out of left field who's young, that I do, again, the criteria for this, potential to be one of the greatest of all time. I like Martinelli. I could see him over time. I could see the wingers for Brazil being Vini and Gabriel Martinelli. Martinelli and Vini, I could see that being it, and them just stomping through competition and eventually winning Brazil another World Cup.
I agree. I like Martinelli a lot. I still think Vinicius Jr. is better than Martinelli right now, if we were to compare the two.
That's fair. That's fair. I knew Vinny. You can't leave Vinny out. You have to include him in the conversation.
Yeah, 100%. He's 22 years old and he's still doing all this shit. He's a lot of people were giving him shit a couple of years ago because of his finishing. I think it's improved over time. I think we've seen it.
It's dramatically improved.
Yeah, because he used to do 4 out of the 5 things that he wanted, and then the last shit is like, dude, what are you doing? Either vomit or right at the keeper or miss the goal altogether.
It was the last piece to his game, in my opinion.
Yes.
That's
all he needed.
And he's still working on it, but he's way more composed in front of net than he used 100%. To be. 100%.
Yeah, so I think Vinicius is definitely better than Martinelli, but I love Martinelli, dude. That's one of the players that, when I played, I wanted to be like a guy like fucking Martinelli. He's just takes people on, confident, goes forward, good finishing. He's swaggy too, dude. You know what I mean? There's something about Martinelli that I'm I'll take him over Richarlison any fucking day. And granted, different positions, but I love Martinelli, dude. I've said
it's
it
hard
all
not to like him. It's hard not to like him. He's
awesome.
He's a player that and you probably know this as a coach, right? Someone who just doesn't stop. You want that kind of guy to just set the example for the rest of the locker room.
Hungry. He's hungry as hell,
Martinelli.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Alina, outside of Vinny and Martinelli, did you guys? Well, Andre, let me ask you. Just we're on you now. Did you have anybody else that you wanted to consider in the conversation?
No, I actually had Mbappe and Vinny as my wingers because Vinny can play both sides. Mbappe can play both sides. Obviously, both of them are if you look at their FIFA card, for example, they're both left wingers, but they're very interchangeable. And so for me, at this point in time, Mbappe and Vinny on the sides. We'll get to a center striker, but obviously for me, it's Haaland. There's no debate. But do you know who's been fucking amazing? And I've actually been really shocked and very surprised to see do so well is Julian Alvarez, dude. The fact that Pep has both Julian Alvarez and Haaland is I can't fucking believe it. Come on,
how did he get
so
both?
Unfair? I don't know, dude.
I don't know. People, if you watched, South American football, you knew about him at River Plate, but you would only get the best of him at, La Bombonera when they were playing Boca
or
Juniors,
Copa Libertadores.
Yeah. He would score some crazy goals, but then people just always assume, it's South America. It is what it is. We'll see when he gets to a bigger league. But the issue now is let me ask you this: if Haaland wasn't in the picture, let's say Haaland was still at Dortmund, and he was still freak-like, right? He was still scoring all these goals. But Alvarez was brought on and is the starting striker for Manchester City. Do you think it would be a closer conversation?
Yes. Especially because of what he just did with Argentina. He played a pretty fucking pivotal role in the knockout stage. If you really think about it, against Croatia, he scored that, crazy run for the second goal. In the World Cup, he had a fantastic assist to Di Maria, or in the final. He had a great tournament, dude, and you can't take anything away from him. And if we're going off of our, factors to dethrone somebody when it's head-to-head, club and country, he's already done it. So if Haaland was still at Dortmund, but dude, Haaland is gonna fucking score 40 league goals this year, easy.
Yeah.
So
right now he's technically on pace for 52. That is by the math, that is the number he's on pace for.
That is insane.
Dude, it's wild. Okay, so Alina, let's go back to winger really quick just to decide on it and get a full consensus on it. Do we think Vinny is the right pick? Do you have another pick outside of that? I said Martinelli, but he's still, like Andre said, pretty young. When it's all said and done, I could see his career being very, very legacy filled. But again, we'll see what you have to say.
Yeah, I think I also like Martinelli, and I haven't even watched that much Arsenal, by the way, and I'm still a fan of him. So I feel like that that has to count for something. But I think if we're going by the CV, what the player has done so far in their career, I'm gonna have to go with Vinny.
Yeah.
Because he's already shown it. Granted that Brazil didn't have the best World Cup.
It wasn't due to him though,
Yeah, he didn't really have that much of a say. To be honest, he wasn't really starting either. I think a couple games.
He had a couple games where he was taken off. But they weren't bad games. It was like a cheat strategy change. Like
just a tactical
switched the formation.
Decision.
Yeah, but he had a couple goals. He had some blistering runs and you can already see where this guy is going to be part of Brazil's mainstay front three for years to come. And then of course we've all seen Real Madrid, and like Andre said, his evolution as an attacker with a knack for scoring goals. I used to make fun of Vinny so hard his first couple seasons because the guy just couldn't fucking figure it out.
I know.
I used to tell everybody, I told them, dude, Vinny would be so good if he just understood how to pace himself, make better decisions, and then just not botch it. Yeah, whenever he got to the net.
Yeah.
But the minute he figures it out, he's going to be lethal. I always say that. And now you look at it. The goal he scored in the opening match, I think he kicked off Brazil scoring in the World Cup. When he kind of passed it, he stopped waiting for the to press and then just passed it to the right corner. Yeah. That you would not have seen that Vinny 3 years ago. Would not have
even
happened. He would have tried to hit it first time or
Yeah.
So. It's just a completely different game. So I think what he's done to evolve as a player and be worthy of the badge he's wearing is, there's so many, we could point so many attackers that have flopped at Real Madrid over the last couple of years. Yeah. Eden Hazard, Mariano, but you have someone like Vinny who I think has really found a way to step his game up.
Luka Jovic. Remember that guy?
I forgot about Luka Jovic. But yes, Jovic is another one. But I agree. I think as much as it pains me as a Barcelona fan that we have to play him year in and year out, it makes the rivalry that much more intense. So Vinny 100% on the other wing. And then striker, Andre already said it. I don't know if we have to say too much more. Erling Haaland is a freak that nobody was ready for. Slot, like Air Max Zlatan is what I call him. The guy is just literally the second coming of him, but better. Yeah. Let me ask you this. And let's say Darwin Nunez figures his shit out in a year and a half. Let's say he makes the same climb Vinny made at Real Madrid, where he just figures out how to be composed in front of net. Mm-hmm. And then the next, 5 to 7 years play out as a battle between him and Haaland in the Premier League.
Oof.
Do you think that impacts this, Haaland's status as the greatest striker of all time? Does he have that ability now, or do you feel like, hey, man, this guy's such a raw talent, it's going to take him years to get acclimated to be the striker he needs to be?
Oh my God!
Dude, an interesting rumor that I heard a couple of days ago was Vlahovic in a swap deal to Arsenal for Saka.
No.
If Vlahovic ever gets fit, Arsenal did want him a year ago.
They did want him. They did want him. Yeah, they did.
If he actually does what he was supposed to do and all the hype and all the money, then I think he would be Haaland's rival in the Premier League or in general. But the guy, I don't know what's wrong with the guy. He's not doing very well.
Yeah, Vlahovic is interesting because I don't know if it's Juve. I don't know if it's the system. I'm just not a big, some of the coaches you guys have had, I haven't been a big fan of over the last few years. But so I don't know how to judge players accordingly. I don't think it's ever fair though to judge a player in their current state and just be like, oh, they're shit because of how their team's performing. It's easy to hate like that, but there's a reason they spent the money to get Vlahovic. There's a reason that people still talk about him being as one of the best young strikers that a team can go out there and grab in January or in summer, especially now with Juve going through the issues they're going to be going through legally here pretty soon. So he could end up in the Premier League. I don't think it's Arsenal anymore, but if he does, do you really think, like, let's say he ends up on a team that's just as good? Maybe Conte brings him in for Spurs. Harry Kane leaves. Somehow Conte sticks around for another year, and Vlahovic is the guy. Could he do it there? Could he do it at Newcastle? I mean, like, what would it take for him to be in the running against Haaland for one of the best strikers in the world?
One thing I noticed with Vlahovic is the fact that he gets really frustrated easily. He's weak mentally, and once he gets pocketed by a good center back, he kind of loses his head. He lets his emotions get the better of him.
Yeah,
and you can see it in the way he plays on the pitch, and also his facial expression.
He looks passionate. He looks very passionate.
But he's gotten pocketed by center backs, and it's like his game just shuts off. Like, he doesn't try to outsmart the center back he's playing next to. That's why I think he would do really well in the Premier League, because in the Premier League, it's not really about, you have really good center backs, but he's not going to be as pocketed as he is when he plays for Juve.
Yeah, they're more physical, and the games are more open. You know what I mean? Like the top teams in the Prem are going forward because that's just how modern football works out there. It's so wide open. Center backs are a lot of times on their own. It's just them two against a striker or a handful of strikers, and you kind of got to hold your own. But yeah, it's a high flying league, and that might be what it takes. I don't even know. What about guys like, I don't know, Joao Felix, who cost Atletico like 130 million? Is that guy ever going to do it? Is Isak ever going to be the guy for Newcastle? I mean, is there anybody who even gets close to touching Erling Haaland?
I don't think so,
Rashford?
Dude. Ooh.
Rashford's more of a winger, in my opinion, but he is a really interesting backup striker for United, someone who could play the role if absolutely needed to. Yeah. Under Ten Hag, he looks like he's fucking thriving. I am critical of Rashford in the way that I'm critical of Harry Kane. It's not that I think they can't score goals, because they can. They obviously do. I want to see them score them consistently against the big teams, which I don't see happen often enough right now for Rashford or Kane. But I expect more of Kane because he's way older. He's more experienced. He needs to be, slotting those in for the big in the big matches night and day. And he does sometimes, but whether it's for club or country, for whatever reason, there's always that moment where he could take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and he just doesn't. You look at England crashing out of the World Cup after that penalty miss. You look at some of the slow start Spurs is having after the restart, and he's not really. I don't know if you guys saw this in the last. Who did Spurs just play? They played Brentford when they first came back on Boxing Day, and they just to Villa. Yeah. They just lost to Villa. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but when I was watching the game, they clocked it. It took Spurs 20 minutes to get him the ball. He did not. He was the only player on the field to not touch the ball for the first 20 minutes.
Wow.
I don't know if that's a system shit or if that's just I don't know. Maybe center backs bottle him up easier than we thought. I don't know. But that stat blew my mind. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. We're all in pretty much agreement then. Haaland is the guy, and maybe there's some front runners in other leagues or that could potentially, get to his level at some stage. I think, in my opinion, Darwin is the closest based on raw talent and based on his athleticism. The guy's just a freak. He's just so unlucky right now. I feel like his confidence is in the mud entirely, and he can't figure out his left foot from his right foot when he gets to goal. So yeah, I don't know. That's my consensus. I think Darwin's the next up if there is going to be someone to rival him. But I think Haaland is just the clear and away.
Fucking animal. Yeah,
dude. All right, that's it. Haaland is our guy. So guys, look, from back to front again, one more time. This is the 11, and this would be the ultimate team of all ultimate teams, I believe, on FIFA. Donnarumma at keeper. From left to right, Davies, Gavardio, Konate, Hakimi. Damn. Pedri, Bellingham, and Camavinga in the midfield. Up front, Mbappe, Vini, and Haaland. Holy shit. And by the way, there's a real world scenario in all this shit where Real Madrid gets that front three. There is a real world scenario where that
really
happens.
Good point. Yeah.
And if they do, I'm going to have a bone to pick with La Liga because they've given us all this shit about the money we spend at Barcelona. And if they go out and splash a shit ton of cash to get Haaland and Mbappe, I'm going to throw a fit like a child. But at the end of the day, that is a completely stacked front three. We will have our editor kind of put that on the screen once we get to this point of the video for everybody watching at home. But that is our young kind of generational talent, baby goat best 11. And I love it.
Love it.
All right, guys. that was pretty much it. We locked in our best 11. What's coming on the next episode, guys? Episode 23. Look, January is here. Club football is back in full effect. A lot of transfers already happening as the window opens. We're on January 2nd today. In a week's time, I don't even know where we're going to be. There's going to be a ton that happens between now and then. We're going to cover all of that and some, talk about some of the transfers that we want to see here on Box to Box. And I think we're going to have a guest on the next episode as well. Super pumped for that. So again, guys, Andre, Alina, really appreciate it. As always, you guys have nothing but solid takes to offer. And guys, if you're watching this at home, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, drop us a comment. Let me know what you thought of the best 11. I think you made it to the end of the video. Let us know who you would have included outside of the likes. I'm really curious personally for the likes of Mbappe and Haaland. If there's anybody that we just overlooked that could rival those two guys specifically, I would love to know. I want to have that argument all day. I'm about it. But nonetheless, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And if I didn't mention it already, this video is brought to you by GOLZtv, GOLZ.tv, where you can get your free footy contents 24/7 today. It is live today. Again, Andre, Alina, thank you both so much. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.